CrossFit Control podcast. This week we have John Pitman. And Pitman, you've been featured in quite a few write-ups, blogs. We did a video last year with you where it was basically me interviewing you behind the camera, but I figured we need to get you on the podcast. So for you guys who don't know Pitman, you are the CrossFit Control first member. You will always have that title of you were the first member to sign up at CrossFit Control. And I think what people don't realize is, you people have probably heard this story before. When I decided to open CrossFit Control, I had one person willing to sign up, and it was you. And you remember TJ telling us, like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I said, well, if I can get one person to sign up, I can get 100.
Yeah.
And
if you can change that one life.
Yeah.
You did.
And so, I want you to tell the story of the garage and how we got started and the weight loss challenge that we had at Thrasher. But I also want you to dive into how different this place has become since you started.
Okay.
Because you remember how, like, when we first opened, I didn't even have any of the equipment. We were just up here in a giant warehouse, and it would just be like you working out on one side of the rig and I'm working out on the other.
Yeah.
And I was like, I probably need to get people signed up because, it's cool that the garage got bigger for us, but I mean, you have been here since the very beginning. And so I just kind of want you to take over and tell your story. Maybe start out with how we met and how we got started on this whole fitness thing.
Well, we met, you had started at the same company I was working at. It's an engineering firm, Thrasher. And, I think we talked occasionally going through the hallway, and we started talking because you did martial arts and I did martial arts. And so then we got, I think I talked about, and you probably saw that I was, I hadn't been training, as much as I used to. So I was a little overweight. I wasn't really, like, admittedly eating healthy, and I was drinking a lot of beer, all these things. I think I was still in my 30s. I may have been just starting my 40s. So, they had this weight loss challenge. I think it was called Biggest Loser, which is, I think it's pretty typical in these firms. They like to give everybody, I don't know if it's like something to do with insurance or, but anyway, so, we formed a little team, and then you had told me, hey, I want you to come down to my house and work out. I'm doing CrossFit. I'd never heard of CrossFit, and I didn't know what to expect. But I did martial arts for years, so I still ran and I still trained, but not heavily. So I figured, this I'll be able to do this. It's gonna be easy. So anyway, you and it was great that you did that because you were holding me accountable, because I probably would have lost like 10 pounds the first week, and then fell off the wagon, and that's probably because I've done a couple of those before, and that's pretty much what happened. But anyway, I since we lived so close to each other, I would, I'd actually walk, and there was a little, like, right away. I could walk through that right away and get to your garage, and you were always there. You'd lift the garage door up, and you programmed to work out for me ahead of time, especially the first, like, I would say month, because and I felt bad, that when I first started, I couldn't lift much. I was out of breath, and you would really scale everything down for me, and you would do your own. Well, you would do a workout before my workout, and you would do one after the workout. So when you would program a workout for me, and I would be on the floor, like, rolling around, I was thinking, oh, he must think I'm such a out of shape slug, But I remember the one time though, like, you programmed a workout, and I did it real quick, and you're standing, you're like, you finished it? I was like, yeah. And at that point on, I knew, like, I was starting to progress. I was seeing that progression. I was starting to see the weight loss. I was starting to get muscle. I was getting stronger. My weight was gone. I think when I first started, I was doing 20-pound dumbbells, and I couldn't do a pull up.
What'd you start? You started that weight loss challenge at what, 250?
Oh, yeah, I was 250.
250, yeah. And then by the end of it, did you lose 30?
I got down to 187. I think I ended at with, which was
Really?
incredible. Yeah. So, you know, and I could really, once I got like, 215, I think that that's when we ran the 10K. And that was the first time I ever ran 6 miles. And I did it maybe a week before I practiced it. And then after that, I did the race with you and completed it, which I was pretty happy with, because like I said, I'd never done anything like that before. I mean, I did some 10 or 5Ks, but it's a little different,
What was because I remember you telling me like you had to take a nap every day after
Yeah.
work.
Oh, that was okay. So, when I started, really, I lost like maybe 25, 30 pounds. I remember, I go out and mow the yard and I would have to take a nap because I was too tired. And one of the other things that I recognized immediately was, I have a small attic in my house and I have to crawl up through the closet to get access. And, it would take me I had to get a ladder. I'd have to like really maneuver. And then, 30 pounds later, I'd pop up there like it's nothing. I lift myself up and I'm like, man, I have this strength. I have energy now. I like, this is amazing. And from then on, I just wanted to keep going, to see, how far I could take it. And
How old are you now?
I just turned 47.
47. So we've known each other 4 years?
Yeah.
So you started this 4 years ago when you were 43. Do you remember thinking, did you ever feel like you were too old for it? Or did you ever, before you started CrossFit, did you feel like, well, this is just what happens with age. I'm supposed to be tired.
Yeah.
And
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And, and that's one of the things that keeps me going here. And especially seeing some of the others, like, Greg's older than me, Patricia, and, and I think that's something that's, it's kind of defying the norm. It's like, sometimes I'll be limping through the office now. Like I'll be sore, cause we did a really hard workout and people look at me and say, you're getting too old for this. And that just fuels my fire because, it makes me want to push harder to prove to them that, it's almost like the resistance of,
it's always the people who need it the most.
That judge. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it always was about. Like, no, you need this. You need this. And I think, man, you need to tell the story of when you threw your back out because you did it.
Oh yeah.
Did you do that?
That was right before the how I was talking about I had ran a 10K just practicing.
Right.
So so I threw my back out. So I ran that just practice 10K. I did it. I was really excited. And then the next day I go and work out with a friend of mine and I was kickboxing. Well, I was a little like tired from that, and I kind of overextended and, and I pulled and it was really bad. Like I heard it pop. And so, but I still wanted to continue working out, because we had the finish biggest loser win. Right. So anyway, I'm coming down and the most I could do was like, well, I think I just kind of was stretching and you were giving me little exercises like rolling on the ball. It was enough to, just get out of bed. It was pretty painful. And looking back, and after we talked about, everything, I shouldn't have, rested it at all. I should have just, like kept going, getting blood flow in there. But I mean, I remember coming down and you had me doing like squats, holding on to the rack. And that's about the best that I could do.
Well, so you're aware now of how to fix that.
Yes.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
What you had was just an SI joint displacement. It's common, especially with your kickboxing background, your constantly staggered stance. So your hips obviously they're offset just a little bit from standing like that over time. And now if you feel that like that little tweak, you just immediately start like you do some air squats and you do some air deadlifts and you stretch and you're fine after 2 days.
I feel it coming on usually, but knock on wood. I've been, my back's felt strong for a year now because I think I've finally, and a lot of it too, I think is just, my technique and things are improving. I'm starting to, focus more on that than, just trying to, build up, weight on weight. And, but it's funny that you said that, from kickboxing that my hips are turned a little bit because, you had, kind of suggested I should go check out a chiropractor. So I went, and he took an x-ray, and he's looking, we drew all day, in CAD, and he's trying to point out, he's trying to, like show like with his pencils and stuff that it's off. And I was like, you don't even have to do that. I can see it's offset and twisted, So, it's something I know how to overcome it now. And it's something that, like I said, it hasn't happened. So in a long time. So,
well, did you still do like your, the blocks to reset your hips?
I haven't, in the last time I heard it, it healed up really quick because I was using I went home, I knew what to do. I started, rubber bands. I started stretching. I stretched 4 times a day. The blocks seemed to help if I was spasming, and I don't know if that's, I may be making that up, but that's the way I felt.
The spasms are caused because your SI joint got displaced and it got stuck.
Okay.
And so your body's trying to put it back into place. Whereas your most recent one that probably happened a year ago, it probably displaced and went back into place real fast, but your body still was like, oh, we need to protect everything.
Yeah.
So that's why you were able to real quick just go into blood flow and stretching. If it ever does get stuck, there's like a hip reset. I always, anytime I tweak my SI joint, that's what I do first, is that reset, because you got to put your hip back into place before all that inflammation.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's good to know.
But what I was trying to get to with that story is, I remember you coming in and you couldn't even stand up straight because your back was so bad from kickboxing, not from CrossFit.
Right.
And that was an old injury too, like you said, you had done it, and brushing your teeth.
Honestly, I think it was something that happened even before that. One time, I think this may have done it, I was trying to pull a refrigerator up a stairs with a dolly, and I just yanked it. I remember it popped really bad, and I was probably in my 20s, and that took a long time to heal. But back then I didn't know what to do about it. And you go to the doctor, they give you muscle relaxers. That's kind of.
But you came to work, and I was like, don't take any days off. And I'm sure a lot of people thought I was crazy for saying that, but I was like, just come down. I promise I'll take care of you. And obviously it worked.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of times people think I'm crazy for my methods. But if you look at now, we have dozens of cases where I've fixed them. And I have the knowledge and the science to back it up. Whereas I think some people just think I'm throwing ideas out there and I'm trying to guess. I'm not guessing. I'm aware of exactly what's happening, and this is the best process to fix it.
Yeah.
And so we got your back fixed. We continued to work out in the garage. I worked out every day, but you would come down 3 days a week, and then you still did kickboxing on Sundays with Brock. I think you ran on the opposite days that you weren't with me. But then I got this crazy idea that I was going to open a gym.
Yeah.
And maybe tell me, from your perspective, what did that look like?
Well, the greatest thing that happened out of that was, you told me one day, you were like, hey, this is in the middle of the day and we're at work. And you said, there's a rig and somebody's selling it in Virginia Beach really cheap. I'm going to go and I'm going to get a trailer and I'm going to drive out there. And I was like, oh, he'll never make it back. And when you drove out and you said to me, hey, if maybe 4 a.m, if you're still awake, I text you, will you help me unload it? And I said, yeah, sure, Devin. Yeah, thinking you'll never come back. I get a text at 4 a.m, and I go down there, and sure enough, you didn't even look tired to me. I was like, yeah.
I went to work the next day.
You did. You went to work the next day, and but yeah, yeah, it was definitely a risky thing, but I saw that you were very passionate about it, and you have a lot of drive, so I think that I knew you'd be successful. I just, just by you're not the type that gives up, and you.
Did you ever have the idea of well, he's probably not going to because I got told I was crazy by so many people. We worked at a nice engineering firm that paid fairly well compared to deciding to go open your own business. And there have been plenty of nights where I thought maybe I was crazy for leaving, but obviously, and I said, you've seen the growth that we have had over the course of just 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that you and I came up, we set up that rig twice because we put it together wrong the first time.
That's right.
But we had 3 of these long mats, and we set the rig up on it, and I would work out on one side, and you'd work out on the other.
Yeah.
And we did that for a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then, do you remember like when I first started having actually structured classes?
Yeah, and I think that and I'm thinking back to that. I remember there was Elizabeth and Justin, and then there were a couple other. I think Eric maybe was coming occasionally.
Yeah, it was. Heather was the second person to sign up.
Shauna, I think, was there.
Shauna.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I could. It's just crazy.
And it just started
back.
growing, from there. And then every time I would come back, and there would be more people and more classes, and it started growing quick. And I think that you impressed everyone with that. Like everybody that said you couldn't do it. I remember it being at work, and some people were like, "I didn't think he could do it. He's doing it."
I'm still doing it today. Yeah. I'm doing it in multiple locations now.
Yeah,
like, that's what.
That's crazy.
I think, honestly, that probably came down to just people always talk about like how much drive I have, and really, it's me being me. That's like, it's no different than when people get all excited about your drafting skills.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, you're just Pitman. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And so, but it is interesting to look back on if one little thing would have been differently. Would I have opened this place, or would it have been easier to just stay at Thrasher and you get paid every 2 weeks regardless?
Yeah.
It was nice, but now you have to create your own thing. You have to grow it in ways. And do you remember when we brought on our first coach? I mean, we brought. Justin failed his level 1 the first time.
Yeah, was it Heather that was the first official, or was it Matt?
Heather.
It was Heather.
Well, Justin was the first one to go try to take his level 1, and it's probably a sign right there that he wasn't a good fit if he failed his level 1.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not with us anymore. And then Heather came on, and it was like her and I ran this place for probably a year, and then Marcus came on, and he did good, but he just wasn't the right fit. I think he was just a little bit young. He was trying to do a couple of things that just wasn't what we try. We really try to focus on health and wellness and making sure you guys get a good workout in. But he was coming in with this RX or die mindset, and just it's not the message that we try to promote here. It's I want to make sure you can work out 5 days a week, not 1 day a week, and then you got ice for the next 5.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah. Especially as you get older too.
Yeah. But after him, I went to Matt Walker, and I was like, I need you to go get your level 1. I know you'll keep our members safe. I can make you a great coach. Don't worry about that piece. And I should probably interview him on like, what was his first 2 weeks like being a coach? Because I just threw him into it, and I was like, I'll sit behind you and I'll give you feedback.
Yeah.
I'm aware that we make it look very easy up there, but it's all from our preparation coming into it.
Yeah.
And so even Matt Morales, man, like when he joined, I was like, well, this is how you run classes. Okay, I've never done that before. Because he coached at another gym and wasn't anything like what we do here. I was like, well, this is how you write timelines. He's like, oh, I never did a timeline before.
Yeah.
This is how you give a whiteboard brief. I've never done that before. And I'm like, that's what we do here. It's, make it as easy as possible on the member.
Yeah. And it shows too, because the classes are ran, like 10 minutes stretching, 10, 12 minutes, fit. Everything is just like, right on point. And then, you in class, you're here 60 minutes and, you're out. So, there's no, no piddling there.
Yeah. I like to say like, we respect your time. I want my coach's time to be respected, and I want the members' time to be respected. If we say it's going to be an hour, it needs to be an hour. Mm-hmm. And I'm very big on like 4:30 hits, class starts at 4:30. There's no 4:33 because we're waiting for someone to come in, like start on time, end on time. Have you seen how has the gym changed as the level of knowledge has progressed? So when we first opened, it was just I had a level 1 CrossFit certificate, and then I got my level 2, and then I got my level 3. Mm-hmm. And have you seen a difference in the coaching staff or how the gym flow is since those levels have come in?
Oh yeah. I feel like it's definitely it's more technical. Like there's more attention to the detail of what we're doing, and the I've been doing like the barbell club, and just that focusing on that technique is just, I mean, for me, it's taken me to another level, because I'm no longer like I feel like I'm no longer like really muscling certain things, and I didn't know I was doing it, but when it's pointed out to you, and then the correct technique, like holding the structure and that sort of thing, like you can tell a big difference. Like you're no longer like struggling with the weight and like fighting it. You're just working with it.
Yeah, I haven't sat in on any of Matt's Barbell Club classes. Mm-hmm. So for you guys listening, Coach Matt Morales runs the Barbell Club, and he just got his level 2 about 2 months ago.
Oh,
but that's the same feedback we get all the time is like people do that Barbell Club, and they said his attention to the technique and the detail really sets them, they feel like they're finally understanding the movements, because you get more attention. Does that make sense? Like if you're doing it once or twice a week versus waiting for it to pop up in the CrossFit class, it's kind of hard to get really good at these high skill movements. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and you can say that the majority of the movements are basic foundational movements that can be applied everywhere in life. But then we do have these very high skill movements that are hard for a lot of members, like, the muscle up. Mm-hmm. That's a
very advanced,
requires a little bit of strength, but a lot of skill. Mm-hmm. And unless we're working on it every day, it's really hard to dial it in, because you're close, and you've been close for like 2 years, but it's just a matter of
one day it's going to click. And
I saw a video from a guy up at CrossFit Morgantown. He said he'd been doing CrossFit for 9 years and finally got his first muscle up.
Wow.
And I don't know how old, his name's Steve. I don't know how old he is, but it just made me think of like, you've been doing this for 3 years. That muscle up's going to be there.
It's coming.
Just keep showing up and keep doing what you're doing. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we went from weight loss challenge to opening the gym. Now we're 3 years in, 100 members. Crazy to see all the growth. Yeah. What would you say to someone who wants to get started, but they're just not quite ready?
I would just join. I mean, if you're, because I think we tend to, as human beings, sort of procrastinate and say to ourselves, like, well, I need to lose weight first, or, I need to like, I don't want to, and that's probably a lot of it. I don't want to look silly to everybody, or, I'm very intimidated by, like, and I think that maybe they relate back to like, Gold's Gym or something where there's Arnold but, it's not like that here. Everybody supports each other and everything's scaled. You're basically competing against yourself and not anyone else. And I think that, like I said, like everybody's going to encourage you, when you come in, and I wouldn't even worry about any of that. Because, I mean, I've probably done it myself, like back when I was a little heavy, and I wanted to go down and do something like yoga or something like that. I would go down with yoga, with my wife, and and it was just like that. Oh, I need to stretch out because I don't want to look bad, which makes no difference, because it's not why you're there. You're there to improve.
It's funny because that's a common thing that we get is people say, I don't want to look silly. But do you ever feel like is Scott Riley watching you while he's trying to work out?
No, not at all. I'm not watching anybody else but myself.
Yeah, that's what's always funny. Like everyone else is too busy focused on themselves.
Yeah.
They're not watching what we're doing. And if they are watching you, they're not working hard
exactly,
enough.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that is true.
Man, we didn't even get into all the competitions you've done since starting CrossFit.
That's another thing. I never thought that I would ever compete in something like this, and which is a good thing because, you know, I did martial arts and I used to fight. And, you know, once I stopped doing that, like I felt at one point, like, is there anything else I can do? Cause I kind of enjoyed it, and it was something that would motivate me to keep going. And, you know, and I ran some 5Ks and things like that and thought like, well, maybe this is, you know, but that wasn't, you know, it's just, I think CrossFit is just so interesting, and it has like, so many different, I don't know the word,
modalities.
yeah. And, you know, moving, you know, like different, you know, substance, you know, to it. And, so like, that, you know, that keeps me going, but, you know, I think it's something I can compete, you know, as long as I, you know, want to now. And, that's exciting. I think that I'm still able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like basketball or being a professional football player where, you know, you're pretty much at a certain age, you're no longer going to, you know, be doing that, you know, especially professionally. But
I mean, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
What'd you place in that last competition?
I think I got first.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was tough competition.
That was a good one though.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, man. You got anything else you want to say to people listening?
You know, the only thing I could say is just, you know, it's a new year, and, you know, I think it's a time to really reflect and, you know, and ask yourself, are you being the best you can be, you know, and, you know, maybe it's a chance to do those things that, you know, that you're afraid to do, or, you know, something that you know, like whether it's, you know, reading a book, or, you know, you want to go out and, you know, get in shape for the year. You know, it's you know, it's every year is another chance to, you know, sort of improve and turn your life around, I think.
I like it, man.
All right.
So thanks for joining me.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.